Continuing in Psalm 6, looking at verses 3 through 4. That's the English numbering, and it would be verses 4 through 5 in the Greek numbering. Ke he suche mu etarakhthe sphaldra. Kai su, Kyrie, heos pote. Epistrepson, Kyrie, chrusai ten suchein mu. Sosan me, henikan tu eleus su. Well, let's begin with that first clause, and the subject here is he suchemu, that's my soul, my inner being, and the verb here is eterachthe, which is from tarasso. You see a minor spelling change here and an alternative square of stops, theta eta ending and an e on the front end. This is a third singular aorist passive indicative from to be, or from to trouble, and so this is my soul is troubled or has been troubled. Spholdra is a very fun word you'll see often in the Septuagint. It means greatly or significantly. So my soul is greatly troubled or has been greatly troubled. Then we say kaisu. Notice it's a second person address. And then we have Kyrie. This again, we've seen this before in other videos, the vocative. So you, Lord, the psalmist is petitioning the Lord, his covenantal God. And in the Hebrew, as well as here, this is kind of broken syntax, heos pote. And so it's a form of address, you, Lord, and then there's no verb or anything. It's just how long or when will you fix this situation is essentially what he's going to ask. But heos pote, and that closely matches the Hebrew. It's kind of slightly broken syntax expressing this deep, troubled sense of the psalmist. And then the next real petition here in the verbal form is epistrepson. This is from epistrepho, which means turn. And with that sigma under the hood and an on ending, this is a second singular aorist active imperative. So now an imperative to the Lord, turn. And then we have the vocative Kyrie again. Then what do we want him to do? Chrusai. This is from ruamai. Notice the rough breathing on the row. This with the sai ending is a second singular aorist middle imperative. So another imperative here. Rescue. That's what ruamai means. Or deliver. Tain suchein, my soul. Deliver my soul. So in a certain sense, we have this compound verb like turn and then rescue my soul. And then sosan here, of course, is save. It's from sozo. This is another imperative, second singular aorist active imperative here. Save me. And then henikan is on behalf of or in light of to eleus su. And that eleos there is mercy, typically in Greek. And the psalmist here is saying, look, turn, rescue my soul, save me on behalf of your mercy. Now, what's interesting is that the Hebrew here is chesed. And if you've been in church very long, you've probably heard that word. It's a pastor's favorite word in Hebrew, arguably. And so the psalmist here is appealing to the loving kindness, the chesed of God as the basis for his imperative, really, multiple imperatives to rescue him. Now, let's double click on that just briefly. The translation of that word chesed in the Septuagint is quite interesting. There's a handful of words that are used to try to capture what it is. The most common one, and that's what's used here, is eleos, which is mercy. That's going to be the vast majority. And it's not exactly one for one, in my opinion, but it's probably the best Greek equivalent of this very significant Hebrew word. But you also have dikaiosune. Often when it's do chesed, it'll be do, like Lord, do dikaiosune, that is do righteousness. Very rarely it's eleemosune, which is pity, or eleemon, which is merciful. In certain situations, it's doxa, which I find to be interesting, because that's typically taken as glory or repute. Sometimes it's hasios, and even sometimes, and we'll probably look at this down the road, sometimes a Greek translator, maybe there's chesed twice in a verb, and they'll actually, do one option in one place and a different option in another place. And so that's pretty interesting that you can see they're trying to grapple with what's the best Greek equivalent in a given context, because it has a range of meaning. It doesn't mean just one thing, although some English translations often will pick one standard phrase, loving kindness or something like that. But let's also take a look at a very interesting New Testament connection here. In John 12:27, Jesus says, now my soul is troubled. He suche mu teteraktai. It's not exactly verbatim, but a lot of times your English Bibles will, bold this or put a footnote in there. This is actually, or at least the closest antecedent, if you will, in the Old Testament is this phrase in the psalm. It's a slightly different form of tarasso here. This is the middle perfect form versus this aorist passive, but it's the same basic idea. He goes on to say, what shall I say, Father? So that's, I guess, a substitute, if you will, for Kyrie. And then we have save me from this hour. And the form is soson me, which is exactly like what you have here in the psalm. And so I suppose you could have some debate, given that it's not exactly a lengthy portion of word-for-word quotation here. But I would definitely be on the positive side of affirming that this is a reference to Psalm 6. And we're going to see this numerous times in the Psalter. A lot of times, Jesus takes the wording of the psalm and just speaks it directly. He doesn't even say as it is written or as David said, although sometimes he does do that. Many times he'll just take these words as his own. He's the one speaking the psalm, and in a certain sense, of course, through his pre-existence and the process of divine inspiration, he's also the one writing the psalm, if you will. And so there's a lot of interesting connections. This is one of the first ones in the Psalter, but we'll see it in Psalm 110 and Psalm 22 and a bunch of other places. So interesting stuff here in Psalm 6.